The book of James is a special letter. We find it in the New Testament of the Bible. It is not a long book, but it is full of important ideas. Many people love this book because it is very practical. It tells us how to live our Christian faith. It helps us understand what God wants from us. It speaks about real life and real challenges. This book guides us in our daily walk. The writer of this letter is traditionally known as James. He was a very important person. He was the brother of Jesus Christ. He became a key leader in the early church. He led the church in Jerusalem. He wrote this letter to Jewish Christians. These Christians were living far away from their home. They were scattered in different places. James wanted to encourage them. He wanted to guide them in their faith. The main message of the book of James is about genuine faith. James teaches that true faith is more than just words. It is more than just believing certain ideas in our minds. Real faith must show itself in how we live. It must be visible in our actions. If our faith does not change us, then it is not complete. James wants us to have a faith that makes a difference, a faith that is active and alive every single day. In this essay, we will look closely at James chapter 2. This chapter is perhaps the most famous part of the book. It talks directly about faith and actions. It gives us a very clear and strong message. James challenges us to think deeply about our own faith. He asks if our faith is real and working. We will explore what this means for us today. We will see how we can apply these teachings. James chapter 2 delivers a very powerful message. It is a central idea in his entire letter. The message is quite straightforward and easy to understand. James tells us that faith by itself is not enough. If our faith does not lead us to do good things, then it is not a living faith. He says such faith is dead. This is a strong statement. It is meant to make us think very carefully. James begins this section with a searching question. He asks in verse 14, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them?" This question is not just for his first readers. It is a question for all of us today. It forces us to stop and examine our own lives. Do we just say we have faith? Or does our faith show in what we do? He then uses a very clear picture to explain his point. Imagine someone says they have faith in God, but this person does nothing to help other people. They see a brother or sister in need. Perhaps someone is hungry or cold, yet the person with faith only offers words. They say, "Go in peace, be warm and well fed," but they give no practical help. James says this kind of faith cannot save anyone. It is empty. So the main idea here is not that our good actions save us. Salvation is a gift from God through faith, but James is saying that true saving faith will always show itself. It will naturally produce good works. Good deeds are like fruit growing on a healthy tree. If you see a tree with no fruit year after year, you might ask, is this tree truly alive? In the same way, if a faith produces no good actions, is it truly a living faith? Let us look more closely at what James writes. We will focus on verses 14 through 17 of chapter 2. James starts with that direct question we mentioned, can such faith save them? He is specifically talking about a faith that has no actions, a faith that is only a claim, a statement. He really wants his readers and us to think about this. Is this kind of faith useful? Does it have any real power or value? He then gives a very practical, everyday example. Suppose a fellow believer, a brother or sister, is without clothes, and they are also without enough food for the day. This was a very real situation for many people in ancient times. Poverty was common. People in the Christian community were expected to care for one another. They needed to support each other in these basic needs. This was a test of their community love. Now imagine one of you sees this person in need, and you say to them, "Go in peace, keep warm and well fed." You offer them kind words. You wish them well. But then, James says, you do nothing about their physical needs. You don't give them food. You don't help them find clothing. What good is that? Your words are hollow. They provide no real comfort. They solve no real problems. This is a strong criticism of superficial concern. James then brings his point to a sharp conclusion in verse 17. He says, in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Notice his choice of word dead. It is not just a weak faith. It is not just an incomplete faith. It is a dead faith. It is lifeless. It is like a body without a spirit. It has no effect. It changes nothing. This is a serious warning to all who claim to believe. James does not just make strong statements, he also provides examples to support his teaching. He uses well-known figures from the Old Testament. These examples would be very familiar to his Jewish Christian readers. His first example is Abraham. Abraham is often called the father of faith. Many people looked up to him as a model of belief. This makes Abraham a very powerful illustration for James's argument. He's a central figure in their history. James directly addresses someone who might doubt his point. He asks in verse 20, "You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless?" He then points straight to Abraham's life. He says, "Was not our father Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar?" James 2:21. This was the ultimate test of Abraham's faith. God asked him to do something incredibly difficult, something that seemed to contradict God's earlier promises. James then explains the connection between Abraham's faith and his action. He writes, "You see that his faith and his actions were working together." James 2:22. Abraham believed God. He trusted God's character and promises. And because he deeply believed, he was willing to obey. He was willing to act on that faith even when it was hard. His action of obedience showed that his faith was real. James says his faith was made complete by what he did. The scripture was then fulfilled, which says, "Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness." James 2:23. He was also called God's friend. James powerfully concludes this example by saying, "You see that a person is considered righteous by what they do and not by faith alone." James 2:24. Abraham's actions demonstrated the truth and depth of his inner faith. His life showed that belief and obedience go hand in hand. After discussing Abraham, James gives another example. This time he chooses a very different kind of person. He talks about Rahab. Rahab was a woman who lived in the city of Jericho. The Bible tells us she was a prostitute. She was not a respected religious figure like Abraham. In fact, she was an outsider to the people of Israel. This makes her example even more interesting and powerful. It shows that James's point applies to everyone. James writes in verse 25, "In the same way was not even Rahab the prostitute considered righteous for what she did when she gave lodging to the spies and sent them off in a different direction?" Rahab had heard stories about the God of Israel. She heard about his mighty power. She heard how he had rescued his people, and based on what she heard, she came to believe in him. She recognized that he was the true God. Her belief was not just a private thought. It led her to take a significant risk. She chose to act on her new faith. She welcomed the Israelite spies into her home. She hid them from the soldiers of Jericho. Then she helped them escape safely. These were very dangerous actions. If she had been caught, she could have been killed. Her deeds showed that her faith was genuine. It was not a fleeting idea, but a conviction that changed her behavior. So, James presents these two contrasting figures. We have Abraham, the great patriarch, the father of the faithful people, and then we have Rahab, a Gentile woman with a difficult past, an outsider. Yet, both of them, James says, showed their faith through their actions. Both were considered righteous because their faith worked. James uses these diverse examples to emphasize his message. True faith, no matter who you are, must lead to tangible actions. Section 6. The intertwined nature, how faith and deeds work together. James wants us to grasp a very crucial concept. Faith and deeds are not two separate things. They are not like two different roads you can choose to follow. Instead, they are deeply connected. They are intertwined. You could say they are like two sides of the same precious coin. If the faith is real, you cannot truly have one side without the other also being present. They belong together. They work together in a person's life. James uses a powerful analogy to make this clear. He compares faith and deeds to a body and its spirit. In verse 26, he writes, "As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead." Think about that. A human body might look like a person. It has all the parts, but if the spirit, the life force, is not in it, then it is just a corpse. It has no life. It cannot move. It cannot do anything. In the very same way, a person's faith might sound good. They might say all the right Christian words. They might claim to believe all the correct doctrines. They might attend church and talk about God, but if there are no corresponding actions, no good deeds flowing from that faith, then James says that faith is like a body without its spirit. It is lifeless. it has no real power. It makes no real difference in the world or in their own character. Therefore, genuine faith, the kind James is talking about, is always active. It is alive and dynamic. It moves us from the inside. It inspires us to do things. It changes how we live our daily lives. It impacts the choices we make. It shapes our behavior towards others. Good deeds are the natural outcome, the visible evidence of a living faith. They are the proof that our faith is not just an idea, but a reality that is truly working within us. Section 7, Practical Steps, Showing Faith in Everyday Life, Small Acts. So how can we actually put this teaching into practice? How can we live out a faith that truly works in our everyday lives? James's message is very down to earth. It often begins with small, ordinary actions. It does not always require us to do big, dramatic, heroic things. More often it means simply being aware of the needs of people around us and then responding to those needs with practical kindness and compassion. This is where faith meets the road. Think about your daily interactions with people. Do you notice someone who looks sad or lonely at work or in your neighborhood? A simple, genuine smile can make a difference. A kind word of encouragement can lift a spirit. Do you know someone who is sick or going through a hard time? Offering to bring them a prepared meal is a deed, or perhaps running an errand for them shows you care. These small acts can powerfully reflect God's love. James's own example was about very basic human needs, food and clothing. Are there people in your local community who lack these essential things? Perhaps you can gather some good quality clothes you no longer use. You could donate them to a charity shop or a shelter. Maybe you can buy a few extra groceries each week. Then you can give them to a local food bank. Even a small contribution, when done with love, shows your faith is more than just words. Also consider the power of your words. James talks a lot about the tongue in his letter. Are you quick to build others up with encouragement, or do you find yourself often criticizing or complaining? Using your words to affirm and support people is a vital act of faith. Taking the time to listen patiently when someone needs to share their burdens is another. These are simple yet profound ways to let your living faith shine brightly through your everyday actions. Section 8, Practical Steps, Showing Faith in Community Larger Impacts. Beyond these individual small acts of kindness, our faith can also inspire us to make larger impacts. These impacts can be felt within our wider communities. This might involve joining together with other believers. It could mean speaking up against unfairness or injustice that we see. Or it could be about actively working to create supportive and welcoming environments for everyone. These kinds of actions demonstrate a faith that truly cares for the well-being of society as a whole. Think about another important point James makes earlier in chapter 2. He warns against showing favoritism, especially to the rich over the poor. This is a community issue. It addresses how we treat people in our churches and social groups. Living out our faith in this context means treating every single person with equal respect and dignity. It means working to ensure fairness and justice within our own spheres of influence. This shows our faith values all people. We can also look for structured opportunities to serve those around us. Are there volunteer organizations in your town or city that need help? Perhaps you could dedicate some time to helping at a local school. Maybe a homeless shelter needs volunteers, or a community garden project could use an extra pair of hands. Giving your time and your skills is a powerful way to demonstrate your faith. It shows a commitment that goes beyond your own personal concerns. Prayer for our community and its leaders is very important, of course, but James would gently remind us to also act on those prayers. If you become aware of a significant need in your community, ask yourself, what practical thing can I or we do about this? Even if your contribution seems small, your action, when combined with the actions of others, can bring about real and positive change. This is truly faith working through active love for our neighbors. Section 9. Conclusion. Living a faith that truly works. James chapter 2 presents us with a message that is both clear and deeply challenging. It is a call for each of us to take an honest look at our own lives. We must ask ourselves, do I possess a faith that is genuinely alive and active? Is my faith the kind that consistently produces good actions and positive change? Or is it perhaps a faith that exists mostly as a set of intellectual beliefs, without much real impact on how I actually live day by day? True Christian faith, the kind that truly pleases God and reflects His character, is always an active faith. It is dynamic. It is like a flowing river, full of life and purpose, not like a stagnant, motionless pond. This living faith moves us from within. It compels us to love other people. It motivates us to serve them practically. It transforms our hearts over time, and as a natural result, it changes our behavior and our priorities. This is the vibrant kind of faith that James so passionately encourages us to cultivate. Let us all take James's powerful words to heart. Let us not be satisfied or complacent with a faith that only resides in our minds, or a faith that is only expressed in our words or songs on a Sunday. Instead, let us actively strive for a faith that works, a faith that consistently shows itself in acts of love, a faith demonstrated in kindness to strangers and friends alike, a faith that seeks justice for the oppressed, a faith that overflows with compassion for the hurting. This is how we truly honor God with our lives. So, the challenge from James to us today, here in 2025, remains simple yet profound. Take some time to reflect on your own life. Ask God honestly to show you specific areas where your faith can be put into more active, tangible action. Then, with courage and trust, take that next step. Do that good deed, however small it may seem. Let your faith be seen not for your own glory, but for God's. For as James so clearly taught, faith without deeds is dead, but a faith that truly works is a beautiful, powerful, living testimony to the world.